Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. We had a lot go on this last week with the church decorating project and just a whole bunch of other decorating projects, it feels like. And now we can relax. Kind of.
I don't think that's true.
I feel like I could mentally relax because, you know, when you're working on a decorating project that's not here, that's for somebody else, there's other people's timelines and, you know, you got to kind of fit in those timelines. And it wasn't a hard thing to do, but it's just something you got to think about. And here it's like, if I decorate this door, in the end, does it matter if I don't get to it? No.
I've noticed that about you, that there's like certain events that do weigh on you, it feels like, and they're almost like a cloud, like things that you want to do or like to do. I know, like going to the Grand Garden show or something, it's something that you kind of
It follows me all year.
Like you kind of stress about it a little bit for a long time.
Only because I have to do presentations, or I've had to do presentations in the past in front of a big group of people, and it's completely different. You know, talking to you guys this way versus like up on a stage, it's miles different. Yeah. And I do think we were planning to go this next year.
Yeah, maybe.
But no presentations. Zero presentations. I just want to go and like meet you guys and those of you who are able to go and just enjoy, you know. Yeah. Anyway, that plans haven't firmed up or anything, but we'll let you guys know when that happens because I think they usually announce those dates like January.
Well,
because they sell out so fast.
Yeah, I was going to say they should announce it before Christmas so people can buy, you know, Christmas tickets. I don't know if they've done that in the past, but it sells out so quickly. Yeah. It's really too bad that the venue kind of like caps it like 700 people or 600 people.
I think it makes it maybe a little bit more of an exciting thing, you know, like if you could fit so many people, you know, you wouldn't be able to talk with everybody or, you know what I mean? Or
could you do like 2
Why don't you talk to the team at Proven Winners and see how they feel about that? It's an enormous undertaking. They do such a fantastic job. It's a special event. And I think it's kind of like Christmas. It's such a special day of the year because it's only one time of the year. Sure. If you had multiple opportunities, maybe it would lose its luster a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, that was a complete rabbit trail. It's just been a really nice week.
I feel like they could at least do it like multiple seasons, right?
Well,
like you could do like a spring show and a summer show and like the, you know, August 1st show, which would kind of be like the summer show, to do an earlier summer show. But anyway, I'm still stuck on that. I got ideas.
You are full. He's brimming with ideas all the time. You brim with like big ideas. Yeah. I brim with.
What do I need to do today?
Other ideas. Well, and like I can do big decorating projects or city projects, things like that. Those don't overwhelm me. Like the Pumpkin Palooza when I was doing that, that was totally manageable. But yeah.
I feel like one of the
like
reasons
starting new businesses and stuff. That's what you're about.
Yeah. One of the reasons I think that was the Pumpkin Palooza was manageable for you was because you were able to like dedicate a lot of time to it. I feel like it'd be harder now with our schedule. Yeah. The keeping up with the garden and stuff like that.
And the kids and all of that.
Yeah, and the kids. They take up a lot of time too.
Let's jump into the videos from this past week and answer some questions.
But first, the sponsor.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The sponsor for this week's recap video, I can't even believe I forgot that, is Espoma Organic. Been working with them forever. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So now we will jump into the first video from this last week, which was Winter Garden Tour. We got our first like dusting of snow and everything looks so pretty. And I just thought it would be in fact, I came in, I'm like, Erin, we need to film a tour right now because the snow looks pretty. We've got a lot more winter interest than we have in years past, I feel like, especially with the addition of all those great big evergreens, like instant winter impact. But the South Garden, I mean, that whole space is really starting to fill in and you can see some shape.
I'm excited for that area to see how it's going to develop.
Yeah. So it was a good day to just go out and look at some of those things that add some interest in the winter. Dixie said, now that you own the new property, can you install gates to enter your property? We can.
I think we should. In fact, I had a conversation. One of the things that has stopped us from doing it is that just the way the land works, I would have to put the little intercom system on our neighbor's property because you need to have something before your property, because if we bumped it up, then we would block off our like access road around the property.
Right, that's true.
So I did talk to our neighbor at one time though, and he mentioned, because we have like an elaborate security system with cameras everywhere, and he had mentioned that if we needed to go on his property to put a camera somewhere, that was fine. So I think he actually would be fine with us.
Well, it's the neighbors that we bought the pasture from that's now the South
friendly,
Garden, and
but it is one of those things where it's
forever.
a weird ask to be like, by the way, can I trench something on your property?
Yeah,
it's a weird thing
10
to
feet
ask.
into your property, yeah.
But I think he'd be open to it.
Probably. They're really, really good about everything. Very Greenly said, would you plant seeds from the golden rain tree to eventually have a couple more grouping like that around the property? I'm trying to grow seedlings from a Japanese maple. And that's a really good idea. Japanese maples seed freely. The golden rain tree seeds big time freely.
Yeah, man.
Ooh, I love that tree because it's got a gorgeous shape. I like the blooms. The lanterns are pretty, but they do make a big mess. I don't think I would actually opt to plant another one now that we have one that's big and glorious. Oh, what was that? Sounded like something hit the door there for a second. Maybe it was snow falling off the roof. Sorry. Anyway, I usually opt for things that are a little bit cleaner, a little bit less maintenance, but it's worth it in some spots to have those big things, even if they create
If it's already
a mess.
there, you want to enjoy it for what it is and not complain about, how messy it is.
Well, I don't even care about the mess because of the structure it provides and the shade it provides.
I think you just need to be strategic on where your messy trees.
They need to be to the back of the new pasture where it's all kind of wild. That would be a pretty place to have one pop up.
Yeah, I've seen people plant like fruit trees in like a heavily trafficked area.
Oh, bad idea.
Oh, what a terrible idea, because you're going to be like tracking, I remember I worked at the cable company and somebody had, I think it was like a cherry tree right on the pathway into the home. And it's like you're just tracking in. So like we've got those booties to put on your feet to stop that. But like what a terrible idea to have a tree like that right before you enter the home.
Right.
Tracking in a bunch of red.
Ooh. E said, your smoke bush is gorgeous. What variety is it? The one in the back corner is just like a standard old variety of smoke bush. I think you could probably just find a tag that says smoke bush, and that's what it would be. It's not it's not a Winecraft Black. It's not a Grace. It's not anything that I can tell that's different than like your old standard. It's been there for a long time. So.
Is it harder to get some of those old varieties of plants? Are they pretty?
You could still get that variety down at the garden center in the spring. But they all sell out when they're pushing new growth.
Who grows them? Like
everybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean, like growers or gardeners?
Growers.
Growers. I think. Around here, I don't know what zone they are. Are they like a 5 through 9, 4 through 9, something like that? So maybe not growers in a tropical area, but growers in most areas.
It just seems like the bent is for everybody to grow smaller varieties of things.
I think there's room for. There needs to be some big things too.
Right, but is there? Like when I go through your parents' garden center, I don't seem to notice a lot of the old varieties of things.
Because you're looking at white cans, Aaron.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
You're looking for white cans, which are abundant in our area. Proven Winners is a very prevalent. I know in some areas people say like I can't find very many, and that's why they started offering an online option. But yeah,
that makes sense.
You kind of just notice the things that you're familiar with, but I think that I could point some out to you next spring. Reem said, what do you have behind the fence at the back of the orchard? Oh, what do we not have back there? It's very organized. Paul just went through and got it very tidied up, palletized items. So our raised bed mix, our soil that we use, our fertilizers that we use, we usually have 1 to 2 shipments a year of those things. So we stack them back there. We need to
cover them,
tarp them, yes, so that
we have bricks back there.
Yep.
Lots of extra pavers. I keep all of our implements back there, the tractor implements, things like that.
There's like ranch panels, T-posts, things we use out in the cut flower garden that when they're not in use, they go back there.
It's a catch-all.
It is kind of a catch-all, but it looks very tidy at the moment. Miss Kim Soprano said, wouldn't it be neat if you could get the other square property that's next to the field you just got? That would just complete the place. Yes, it would.
I think that we will have an opportunity to buy it because our neighbor has come to us and said that he would let us know first.
Oh, I really wish we had money at the time he came.
Yeah.
We had just bought the new pasture up in front of us, and we were like, we're tapped out. Like we can't. Like
he originally came and offered it to us to buy.
The piece right in front of our side garden, that big square, and then also the original acre that belonged to this house that the previous owner sold to them. He offered us that piece too. That would have connected to the back of the barn. But you know what? everything seems to work when it should.
Yeah.
And that's how I want it to work. I don't want to force anything to happen. And honestly, like being able to purchase the new pasture was amazing and something that I didn't know that would ever happen because the family that has the house and had the land, the family still lives in the house, and they had some plans at one time to do some things, and I just thought, well, they're gonna use it. That's great, but we'll probably never have a chance to buy it. And it just worked out. So we just kind of wait till the doors open and try not to force things to happen. Kai said, especially loving all your conifers and evergreens, can you please talk about the best ways to fertilize and water your arborvitaes to encourage them to grow as fast and large as possible? Fast and large as possible on the arbs. Make sure they're well watered. They are like surface root sort of plants. They don't go down very deep. So in really hot, dry areas, I find that, Aaron has found it. Those are kind of your baby a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like over the years, I think also as the roots spread out, I don't think that having the emitters that go right at the root ball are really sufficient. I think that we're going to need to get rid of all that drip tubing and go with the emitters every 18 inches and maybe have like one row on one side and one row on the back side.
Sure.
To try to
more coverage. Yeah,
because I think those roots are spreading out and the ends of them are not tapping into the water like they used to. Mm-hmm. So, but man, they need a lot of water.
They do need a lot of water. We give them plant tone at least once a year. If we can twice, that's the best thing to do. The interesting thing about arborvitaes and boxwoods is that, if you're going with the Espoma brand fertilizer, which we've been using forever, they want plant tone, not holly tone or evergreen. Like they want plant tone as the specific one they recommend for those two particular evergreens. Everything else can have the holly tone and evergreen
tone.
Just FYI. Just a little side note.
I think holly tone and evergreen tone are the same, actually.
Are they really?
I think if you look at the numbers on the bag, I think they're
either super, super close or the same. Also wondering if you intend to feed your recently planted spruces, pines, and other large evergreens during next year's growing season, and if so, how? Do you think we'll do some holly tone on all the new evergreens?
We will do soil acidifier for sure. Mm-hmm. And probably holly tone.
At least for this next season, maybe 2 seasons as they're getting going. They did get a good dose of biotone. So, at least there's something in there to help their roots get going. Renee said, it's amazing how much the space has changed. Are you ever tempted to tuck in extra fruit trees out in the landscape? Okay, so we just kind of talked about that. I occasionally, there'll be kind of a random fruit variety that's a cross between, I don't know, like a plum apricot or something like that, or a cherry plum. And, I don't have enough room in the orchard because I've got that all maxed out with fruit trees. I've occasionally thought, wouldn't it be fun just to tuck one in? But tucking a fruit tree in anywhere, that's a commitment. Because then you've got to keep it on the spray regimen, which we need to do here pretty quick in our orchard. I'll bring you along for that. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So commitment, spray regimen, cleanup, all of that stuff. You have to keep access around the tree. So it's not really like tucking it in. You have to have space around it in order to harvest if you're wanting to, because otherwise you'll tromp around and all your other things. Having them out on the lawn is a pain because of mowing, unless you have more of a natural lawn. I don't know. And for all those factors, I typically move on from that idea pretty quickly. Michael said, love the tour, especially the drone video at the end, but as a car guy and a gardener, I noticed something new in the driveway. Who got the new F-150? We did. Yeah. We just traded in our oldest pickup, which was the white one, for a newer. It's not brand new. It's 2 years old,
yeah,
right?
It's a 2021. Well, I guess it's just 1 year old.
Yeah, and it's an F-150. It's got a few more features, which, as I get older, you kind of want things to be easier. And so there's some features like the step to get into the tailgate, which the white truck had, and that was so awesome. So it has that step, but it also has a tailgate that you can open and close with a button instead of lifting that heavy thing up. And then for you, it was the seat settings, which is super standard at this point, but neither of our cars had it. But you get in and it senses you and it moves to where you want the seat to be set, and that was for you a huge deal.
Well, when we share vehicles, the settings that you keep it on are very different than the settings that I need. So when I try to jump in the truck and you've been in there last, I kind of try to jump in there and then and fall back down because I don't fit.
So it works out well. Yeah. And we haven't eaten or had any thing to drink in that truck yet. Yeah. Give it time. Just a little time and we'll have that thing properly worn in. All right, let's talk about this week's recap sponsor, which is Espoma Organic and their indoor line of fertilizers. So of course, right now when there's snow on the ground, we're not using a lot of their granulated stuff. We use a ton of Biotone starter fertilizer. It targets the root system and creates a really robust
plant.
root system, and the plants do really well. In fact, Espoma is a product I didn't even have to be introduced to. It's just been part of my life. My parents have been selling it down at the garden center since probably before I was born, and they've been using it in their garden all the years, and hopefully you've seen tours of their garden. It's gorgeous. It works really well. Anyway, they've got a cactus, they've got a violet, orchid, and indoor. I use probably the most of the indoor and the cactus for sure. Indoor, if you're going to get any of the four, this one works really well. Easy to measure. I use it about once a month. Maybe 2 weeks is probably, every 2 to 4 weeks. I use it about once a month. It works really well. Anyway, thank you Espoma Organic for sponsoring today's video. All right, so moving on to the next video, eye-catching window boxes for Christmas. I can't remember how we titled that. They are very eye-catching. I used all the winterberry holly I ordered, all of it, in 2 window boxes, and they're bright. So underneath the balcony, it's an interesting area, the portico, because it's shaded, one. It's on the east side of the house, so even if we do get sun in the wintertime, which, like we haven't for the last few days, it's been pretty gray, but it's a small slice of sun, and then it goes into the shade for the rest of the day. The glass windows and door are highly reflective, and you lose stuff really easily under there, and that's the only reason why I have not painted the window boxes black. I'm just afraid that if I do that, it'll create a hole. You won't see the window box.
I think it's good to leave them white.
Yeah, I mean, they show up. And I've found that like when I plant the window boxes with annuals using Limetime coleus, bright pink begonias, things that have bright colors are the only way that you can see what's in those boxes unless you're right up on it. So when I get ready to do Christmas stuff up there, last year I used a lot of just greens and bright red, and it was such a fun classic pop that I decided to kind of build on that a little bit. So we put up wreaths, bright red berry wreaths, which I was a little unsure of because they're just so bright. I'm not usually that bold in the red department, but they look good. We did garland around the door and lights, filled up the window boxes, the pots next to the door, put Christmas trees in the pots up front, did a pot swap. I mean, it was quite the project when you actually think about it. I think my decorating tub is still sitting out there.
Is it really?
I think so. It's probably got snow in it at this point. Linda said, I love the details in the green wreaths. How about the green wreaths with red bows? I suggested that, and Aaron said, nope, worse. Don't do that. Do you recall that?
I think the red berry wreaths are the best.
They really do show up. They really do. And like from a distance, if you're standing right up by the doors, the green wreaths were beautiful. But you stand anywhere out in the garden space, and all of a sudden you can't see them anymore. So the red does show. Tina said, very beautiful. Where did you get those red berry wreaths? Probably Joann's or Marshall's or TJ Maxx or something like that. It's usually where I pick my wreaths up. Janine Bean said, do you get all of your garland berries and leaves from the wholesale florist? Do you ever use your own evergreen cuttings for garland? I get the garland that I've been using, I get at Home Depot. It's just like the $14.99. It's a 15-foot garland, I think, or 16-foot garland. I think that's a pretty good price, $1 per foot. They're a little flimsy, so in some cases I use them doubled up, like I did on this door, because it's a double door, but on our kitchen door, which you'll see maybe before this video, possibly.
Maybe.
I only used a single, and on a single door, it worked out just fine. It looks really pretty. A lot of the pittosporum, berries, the eucalyptus, I ordered all of those kinds of things from the wholesale florist, and then I ordered the greens through my parents' garden center. We don't have, or we do now, we have large enough evergreens to cut off of, but up to this point we haven't, and I probably won't cut on our brand new evergreens because I don't want to do anything to shock them or make them sad or any of that business. So we need to get some good size evergreens. They're like a little bit special in our area, I guess, evergreens, don't you think? Especially like when you get some big spruces and like the Norway. Anyway,
well, evergreens don't grow naturally.
Not really. I mean, junipers, scrubby junipers, not nice junipers, they grow naturally here, but everything else you have to, tend to a little bit more. So they're precious. That's the word I want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joe said, would you give me a birthday present this month? Please play a snippet of a Christmas song on your new piano and include it in a video. Happy 74 years to me. I don't know.
You totally should.
I don't get to play quite as much as I used to. I mean, I guess that's a bad excuse, but usually I'm playing with the kids till they're in bed, which is fairly late. Benjamin goes to bed fairly late because our whole schedule is shifted a bit. We go to bed pretty late and get up a little bit later. Samantha goes down at a normal time for a child her age, I think. But, I can't play the piano when she's napping or when somebody's asleep, not the grand piano anyway. The keyboard that we have, I could plug into. So there's no good excuse why I don't play more, except for my time is just more taxed. And I don't know. I don't know why I launched into that other than the fact that I probably won't play.
You're just trying to set up barriers for why I can't
maybe.
do this thing. I think you totally should. I don't think that anybody cares if you hit some wrong notes or have to start over.
I'm so much less practiced than I used to be.
I don't think anybody cares. I think people just want to hear you play.
Well, maybe. We'll see. Don't expect anything. But happy birthday to you anyway. Baranka said, wouldn't it be good to plant some evergreen trees or bushes instead of concrete pots? Like where the trees are?
Or where the concrete pots got moved?
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah, where I put the trees in the pots, just put the trees there instead. You could, finding an evergreen tree that
Didn't there used to be some evergreens
there?
there?
Was boxwood spirals, but remember, like, kind of dead and mites?
Yeah.
We took them out.
Right.
Yeah. And they were kind of misshapen. Mm-hmm. Like, they were weirdly shaped.
There was also some of those in our garden. There was a lot more, like, the Japanese style, like, topiary, where they were kind of like balls on top of.
Where was that at?
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that.
Oh, it was at the entrance of the formal garden, the north garden.
Oh, those were spirals. But they were like alien spirals. Like they were really.
I thought they had more of like a Japanese garden look to them.
Well, maybe they did. They had a more disc shape instead of like more rounded.
Yeah.
Boy, it's kind of hard to remember back to all of those things. I like the pots. Because then if something dies, you still have the pot there.
There you go.
Julie said, how about adding white berries in the pots flanking the doors? That would be pretty. They'd probably get lost with the white house.
Unless that's true.
Unless I love white flowers, and I'd love to do, shade window boxes with begonias and white and very like moon garden-esque, but you wouldn't see them.
Paint the house black.
Well, hey, there you go. Everything would contrast. You're full of good ideas, Erin. Christiana said, your sidewalk, I guess that's the way to say, around your house is pretty dull. How about put some bricks or tiles? It would give your house so much value. Yes, it would. Also, a wraparound porch would give it even more value. Cover up that sidewalk. We don't love the sidewalk. We would love to have a porch around it or brick around it or something like that. And the plan is to do a porch and maybe even like building it out a little bit.
The reason that we haven't done a porch is that part of the plans with the architect is to potentially move the overhang, make it wider, like 10 or 12 feet. Currently, I think it's like 6 feet out. The columns are 6 feet out from the house. Mm-hmm. So if we had the columns come out 10 or 12 feet, boy, that'd be an undertaking to do that. Yeah. But, so if you put a porch in and you do it at 6 feet, and it kind of just, then it's like, well, now we don't really want to extend it out because we already spent our wad on
the porch. We're trying to do things in the right order, and that could be hard because there's a lot of things in our house that you don't want to spend money on, but they're going to take a ton of money to fix, like the wiring.
We just need to win the lottery. If that happened, we could just tackle all these projects at once.
There's something special about tackling them as a little at a time. I like that pace.
Well, it does make things more special, because then it's a journey and,
Yada, yada. I know that's what you're thinking in your brain. Okay, next video is decorating a Christmas tree in the Hartley. That was so fun. Oh, I just love it. I love it in there so much. In fact, I'm working on my seeds a little bit at a time, organizing in there, and you'll see a video about that at some point. But I'm in there with the tree, and I can smell it, and I can hear the little fountain in there, and I've got my coffee, and it's just like, what? That's why I don't care about the stuff in the house. Like, I'll just stay in the Hartley. Who cares? It's so pretty out there. Olive said, why are you barefoot? Because I was hot. It's warm in there, and I was working, and...
It's not that warm.
Well, it wasn't yesterday, but it was that day because the sun was out. When the sun comes out, it warms up fast, and I like to work in bare feet. And the floor is clean in there. It's not like it's stone, but it's like better than walking around just barefoot outside. You know, I'm not going to step on anything weird. Julie said, absolutely stunning. I love the magic. I'm interested in the hydrator. Is it expensive? And do you dehydrate all types of fruits for your family to eat? The Dehydrator is a Tridona Sedona Best.
Wow.
Or Tri-Best Sedona Express.
All of a sudden, you're not so confident.
I think it's a Tri-Best Sedona Express. It has 11 trays and the glass door, which was huge to me, and you can set it on a timer, so it won't overdo.
Do you remember how much it was? Like $400?
$300. $400. I can't remember. Good investment because you can fit so much in that dehydrator. And mostly I've just used it for apples and oranges, basically. I mean, we can eat through so many more apples if they're dried.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I got it on Amazon and I really like it. JJ said the Hartley in and of itself looks gorgeous. Can you perhaps show us how the windows are cleaned in summer and spring? That would be fun to watch. I'll ask Jeff if we can set a camera up on him. I don't clean them. We have Jeff clean them. Jeff is a guy who works here in I can't remember the name, Seymour Window Cleaning. Mm-hmm. He's done my parents' windows for lots of years, and just like a couple times a year. And you know, when you've got really tall windows and windows like that, they've got all the right stuff. They can do it so fast, and it's absolutely worth it. It'd take me like 3 days to clean the glass in that greenhouse.
We could get the extendable pole thing and do it ourselves.
We'd leave it all streaky and all kinds of stuff.
We probably would.
You know, it just depends on what kind of time you want to spend it. I mean, we've talked about that in the past, like prioritizing what, you know, makes the most sense. Do you enjoy doing that? If so, great. If you would rather work more, you know, we would rather work more and be able to pay somebody to do it. It's just like balancing all of that.
That was a no-brainer when we first discovered that mm-hmm. like I can work another, you know, a couple hours at my job, and we both had access to overtime. Yeah. So we could make overtime pay working at our regular job, and we could hire someone to clean our house.
Yeah, it was a good trade.
That's worth it.
Yeah.
That's a great trade.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, but yeah, he comes in and does it really quickly. We haven't like figured out any kind of a schedule. I think we're just going to do it on an as-needed basis. I think he's done it, twice since it's been up?
Yeah.
Maybe twice. Does a beautiful job. Christopher said, do you have tours for your neighbors to see the beauty, or do you prefer to keep it private? I typically like to keep it private for the most part, but we do have some neighbors who they're like the ones
neighbors that we know and that know us.
Yeah. They're more than welcome. And they'll just text and say, hey, we have some company over. Do you mind if we walk around and look at your lights? Excellent. You know, we don't mind that at all. But for the most part, we keep it pretty private. Dina said, I received a message that I want a drawing, but I'm supposed to reply on Nicegram. Do Nicegram? Is that right? Who knows? It's a scam. I don't know what that is. Yeah, don't respond to anything that looks weird. We don't do anything like that.
Here's how you would know that you won. You heard it from Laura's mouth in a video.
Yeah.
You saw it listed in the description of a video. Like you saw your name listed.
Written in the description. Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. Also, I guess the other way is like, if you click on the channel that says that you won, mm-hmm. does it take you to our channel, or does it take you to like some other thing?
Yeah.
Because like if you click on the channel name, it just depends on where it takes you. Yeah. If it takes you to the official page, then you're good.
I mean, they can look fairly convincing because they can steal pictures of me, and they can have the same name as us. All that stuff, which is, it can be a little bit, but if you look into it a little bit, you drill down a little bit, you can tell if it's a scam or not. Basically, if we don't do giveaways or that sort of thing that often, and it's always in a video where we will announce.
Well, so I'm talking with a company right now that we're going to do a video where they're going to do a giveaway, and I'm actually going to put it on them to where they do the giveaway, because we have so much issue with like spam mm-hmm. that it's just easier to let them host the giveaway, and then they'll email the people, and that way it won't be on social media. It'll just be like, it'll take place on their website essentially.
Yeah, and then it'll give everybody else, I think everyone confidence. Yeah. You know, instead of wondering. Allison said, you mentioned Joann's often. Do you ever visit Hobby Lobby? Rarely. We don't have one super close by. It's like 45 minutes away is the mm-hmm. nearest one. They do have a lot of stuff there. It almost overwhelms me. I'm so used to Joann's and how it's laid out, and I am a definite creature of habit.
Yes. Well, Joann's is like less than 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's really easy to get to. And that's the last question from that video. I didn't even explain in that. And for the tree decorations, I wanted to do all, like 100% cut glass ornaments and oranges. And I got it pretty close. I decided on that theme right before I started decorating the tree. And so, I scoured every place in town, the garden center, Joann's, Marshall's. I went to Walmart. I went everywhere I could think of that had ornaments. I went to True Value and looked, and I picked up anything glass related. So I think it's a thing that we'll be able to build on every year, and I'm excited about it because it's so sparkly and so beautiful, and I wish you could see it just standing there because the camera does not pick it up. In fact, I took a little video, sent it to my mom because she was there helping me. I'm like, this video doesn't pick up half of the ornaments. She's like, no, it doesn't actually, but it still looks pretty. So anyway, I really wish I could convey what it actually feels like to stand there and look at it to you guys. Moving on from that video, we have decorating the stage at our church for Christmas. You guys were so sweet. I always feel a little bit, when it's huge decorations like that, I always feel a little bit vulnerable because I don't know how it's going to turn out exactly. That's not my profession, like decorating on that scale. It's just a fun thing that I enjoy doing every once in a while. I don't do it every single year, and I think that's why I enjoy it. It's like every 2 years, it feels like. Although I do have an idea for next year already. Yeah. Maybe we'll tackle it next year. And the thing is, sometimes you have to plan in advance so that you can get stuff on sale after Christmas.
Sure.
And like get the amount of stuff that you need at a good price. Otherwise, it gets way expensive.
Which, by the way, I don't think that we had a question about that, but a lot of people were asking if it was something that the church had a budget for, and we just donate whatever materials.
Yeah, I didn't really want to talk about I didn't want to draw attention to that.
Well, I just did, so there you go.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, so I did A Weary World Rejoices, which the actual words of the song is The Weary World Rejoices, but A looks prettier, and I didn't feel like it changed the message. And then we did the Star Bethlehem up atop. I made a manger out of a pallet, straw bales, blue velvet curtains. All in all, I mean, fairly simple, but the words, everything takes a while to gather up all the stuff you need and put it all together. So I'm real happy with how it turned out. I had some gold stars in a package that I bought, and I was going to put them all over, kind of in front of the curtains and around the Star Bethlehem, but I got to looking at that ceiling. The only way I think I could have done that is if I had a lift. And the stage is in the way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
No lift is going to work on the stage.
I had no ladder that would get that high. The only reason I could hang the curtains is because there's brackets already, like lower, but that ceiling goes up quite a bit higher than those curtains actually are hanging, and there's nothing else to hang things off of. It's just open, except for the big air ducting. You can't really hang stuff off that because I don't know how you would attach it, and I think they would move.
Poke a bunch of holes in it.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd love me for that. Rose said, why don't you add some lights under the straw that is loosely placed on the floor? It didn't work on the manger, but you can still have a pretty glow coming from under the straw. That's an idea. I really was hoping for a little bit of light down there, but honestly, it looks really pretty when the floor, the backlights, wall lights are on underneath, and we could work on lighting. I mean, you could fuss with something like that forever. There's only a finite amount of time that I have to really put it all together. And my mom, bless her, came in at the last 2.5 hours and helped me just get through the last bit of it. And she spent most of the time cleaning. I mean, I packed the straw bales back out to the truck. I think I had 6.5 or 7 of them left. So I had to pack all of those back out, and it makes a mess. We had tarps around them, but it's still, you get straw everywhere. So she vacuumed, cleaned the floors, cleaned up after everything that I was doing, just plugged away at that while I was working. And so I just thought if I had to do all that, I would have been here for an extra 2.5 hours for all the work that she just put in. So that was so helpful. Tart Christine said, you did an awesome job doing the Christmas stage at your church. Thank you. I wish I had the ability to create ideas like yours. How do you know the foam board would work in this project? I watched you cut those letters out and was surprised at the durability. I was too. That's why I started with wood first, because I thought this font is too thin. It's not going to work. But once I started with the wood was so heavy and cumbersome, and it was already a little bit of a chore on those small letters. And when it broke the first, I don't know, it showed it in the video, but it broke the leg of the R when I was almost done cutting out the letter R. And I was clamping the letter down and trying to be careful. And I thought, nope, we're going to just try it with the foam board and see what happens. I used foam board for the windows the last time I decorated down there, the great big Gothic arch windows, and it worked really well. But of course, those were thicker So they held. What I ended up doing, since all the letters were individual, that worked out great. And then on the Rejoice, which is cursive and all kind of connected, I just did it in sections to where it wouldn't be too heavy and floppy to where they wouldn't break. And it worked out, thankfully. Love the curtains, blue velvet, absolutely beautiful. By the way, love the Felco commercial you did using the gloves and clippers for making the wreaths. I mean, that's just wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll be searching for something. I had to search, what did I have to search for? It was the name of a plant, and I was searching on our channel the other day because I couldn't remember, and that ad popped up.
Really?
I feel that is so weird.
I still haven't seen it. So yeah, Felco just asked if we could make him a commercial, like an ad of some kind, and I was like, I think I could probably just piece together footage from like a previous video.
That was one of our videos
which
last
wasn't
year,
a commercial. Like when we did that, they sent out the gloves for you to try.
Yep.
But they weren't like sponsoring that video, but it worked out really well.
It did. Jaylene said, anyone else notice the exclamation point is different compared to the projection Laura traced? Yes, well, by the time I was hanging that exclamation point, was that the last thing I hung? It was one of the last things. I saw another comment saying, by the time you hung that, you were probably a little weary yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, get these things on the wall because I need to move on to the next thing. I totally didn't notice it, but I told you, like, something's off.
Yeah.
Like, it's making...
I thought it was just supposed to be kind of like artistic, the way that...
Well, and every font is a little bit different. Yeah. And then a few of you guys had pointed it out, and I'm like, I looked back I had texted your mom a screenshot of what font I was going to be using so she could see it. And I was like, oh, that is upside down. So we actually posted a little video on Facebook and Instagram showing you where I went up and fixed it. It looks so much better. It balanced the letter out. What the problem was the R is so big. And then the exclamation point, when it ends on the skinny side, it's like the weight was off. But you turn that around and put the thicker side up there, it helped so much.
Imagine that.
I know, actually tilted the R a little bit too. It was a little bit off. And so now everything looks, and I fixed the curtain in that video at the end. I had hung the second curtain and it was pulling too tight to the right and it didn't have the same kind of curve, and that bugged me really badly. So I was able to fix that. So now it's all like, I don't have to stress about it anymore. But I had to go through the whole women's dessert and I think 2 services before I realized it. So everybody's already seen it all wonked out.
Nobody cares.
I do. Oh my goodness. But you guys were so sweet about it. Everybody was like, your decorations look so great. I love it, but I think your exclamation point's upside down. Just like a side note. Yeah. Side note. So it wasn't something like that I felt bad about. It was just a funny thing. It happens, right? That happens. Bonnie said, where do you go to get such large panels of styrofoam? Have several projects that require styrofoam but don't know where to find it. Those are insulation panels, like foam boards. You can buy them at Home Depot. That we got ours at Home Depot. Now, the first one I used was the white backed with silver, way cheaper. It was like $24 or something like that for a 4x8 panel. By the time I needed to cut out the star, I had to buy the more expensive one, the purple one. I think it's a denser type of foam, and those are like $46.
Oh, wow.
But they were out. They were out of the 2-inch thick, and I was under a time constraint, so we just got the purple one. But the white one works fine, and I feel like for $24, all those words, minus the star, I mean, that was pretty good. Sandy said, but are you aware the lyrics are the weary world, not a weary? Yes, that was a conscious choice on my part. A, like the letter A is so pretty. Well, I did a block letter, I think, but the just didn't work. It just didn't, like...
Didn't do it for you?
No, it didn't do it for me. Irene said, I'm an atheist, but I do appreciate good design. The midnight blue velvet curtains were an excellent choice for the night sky, and the rustic rope tassels complemented the rustic pallet manger and hay. Did you scrub the idea of adding additional gold stars like those in your sketch? Yes. The star Bethlehem is in perfect scale over the words into the entire scene, and extra stars aren't really missed, in my opinion. Your church is going to want to keep this year's stage decor in their storage. Great job. That is a sweet comment. I love reading stuff like this. I feel like if there were more people in the world like you, Irene, we'd be like much happier.
Yeah.
Where people can have differences, but we still love each other and still support each other. That is just like really refreshing to me to read that. So thank you. All right, guys, last video for this week. Removing snow from evergreens and planting hyacinth bulbs in pots. So we got about 4 inches of snow, and it was a heavy, wet snow. It was already starting to weigh down some of our boxwood hedging and the arborvitaes, and those are really the only evergreens I was concerned about. So we went out used a broom, knocked the snow off of them, and I'm glad I did because we still have a lot of that snow, and the plants that the snow is on, it's turned into icicles because it's warmed up enough to where it's melted a tiny bit, but then it's turned to ice, and so it can really cause some big damage. And I know on specific plants, specifically our arborvitaes and our sprinter boxwoods, they're just weaker plants. They don't have a really firm network of branching inside the plant, so they get a little weight, and all of a sudden they weigh over, and it's hard to get them to reshape. So I kind of talked through that, and like, sometimes sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, it feels like it only really matters on branching that kind of just goes like straight up.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, there's not the network.
Well, we don't have ice storms like, you know, I know ice storms can take out trees and stuff like that. We don't really deal with that, but we do have an issue with arborvitae specifically.
Yeah, and those boxwoods.
Yeah.
Especially like on the back side of the curves on the west side, it weighs them down, and then the circle in Versailles, it weighs them all out, and then it's hard to get them to rebound. So it's worth it if it doesn't look like it's going to warm up enough to melt it off. If it snowed like that, I mean, I don't go out every time it snows and do that. It's only when I notice it's going to stick around and we're going to get more. Like tonight, we're supposed to have snow from 10 to 4 a.m., 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And that would just build on top of what's already there and then cause huge issues, especially if there's ice. You can't get the ice off of it.
Right.
You know, the ice is stuck there until it melts off. So, and then I had 150, I think, hyacinth bulbs we planted in pots, put them in the cold frames of the Hartley. I'm excited about that. Brian and Tammy said, I just realized that those Christmas lights all over the things that you're taking the snow off of, will that have an effect on the lights? It doesn't. Do you have to go back through the entire property and redo the lights on those trees and bushes? No, I'm like barely. You know, a couple of times on the boxwood hedging, like around the fireplace, my broom would catch one of the lights and like kind of pull it sideways. I just pick it up and put it back where it needed to go. They're just draped over the top. So my broom, what word is it? Brushing.
Yeah, there you go.
Brushing of the snow didn't affect the lights at all. DC said, I don't know if you'll read this or not, but just a suggestion, could you wrap the arborvitaes with some string? This probably would help keep them together. Some people wrap theirs.
Yeah, I think they do that. Like they do that on Mackinac, don't they? Because of the winds. And,
yeah,
the ice. It's just not really. What we did is like the most you would need to do with an arb here.
Jen said, just wondering, do the small boxwoods around the Hartley need some snow removed, or are they protected by the snow? They're so small that they're fine. And they already have a more thick network of branching than the sprinters do. It's just an interesting thing. And maybe the sprinters over time, after cutting them, and hedging them up, they'll create more lateral branching, but just naturally, they just don't have it in my experience so far. Linda said, are you concerned about snow weight on all of the new evergreen trees that you've planted? Not really. I've been watching them. Have you?
Again, because their branches go out, it's fine for them to go down.
They'll lift.
They'll lift back up. It's really just the stuff that is going up. Because then when when your branch, I can see myself in the camera. Yeah. If your branch is like this and it goes to this, then they might break. But if they're already, the amount of movement isn't that great.
Right. Jay's Holiday Wonderland said, would a leaf blower work, or would that cause windburn with it being so cold? I think the snow was too heavy. Like it was, I don't know if it looked that way in the video, but it was pretty wet and pretty heavy. And I don't know that a snowblower would have actually done the job. And that would have been a little bit more taxing, I think, to hold that thing the whole time than the broom was.
If it was powdery snow, it probably wouldn't.
Yeah, that'd probably work. But then I wouldn't need to be out there. If it was powder,
That's true,
I wouldn't need to be brushing it off. Jenny said, have you ever thought of putting in a little area with making a shallow ice rink?
Oh.
I already priced out ice skates for everybody, and I would love to do that. I think we could have it for a month here. And
I think that you would need you'd need something to keep the ice. I don't think it stays cold enough here.
No, it does too.
I think you'd have to have
for January.
I don't know what they do, but I know that there's like machines or like, because they have like in Caldwell, they've got the ice rink. Mm-hmm. And they have it outside, but I'm pretty sure you'd have to have something that would keep it cold enough. Because we warm up too much. The water would never get thick.
I'm going to get
the ice would never get thick enough to skate on.
I'm going to get with the Caldwell people and see what they do.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they invested in one of those things.
But it's too big of an ice rink. Like, do you think that the whole thing has a network of cables underneath?
Yeah, they might have like coils or something like that underneath the whole thing to keep it.
I have no idea how any of that works.
Like
I just
refrigerant
think
something.
We could create a little shallow pool out there, and for a month out of the year, it stays below freezing. Like back part of December and January.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of days it warms up to like 30, 33, 34.
Maybe this winter we'll watch the weather really closely and see if there's a long enough period to make it worth it.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be so fun, and it would be a really good activity for the kids.
Sure.
To get out and move, and like it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Have friends over and do that. Nobody around here owns ice skates though, so that might be a little problematic.
Does your parents' pool freeze over?
No. Well, it's 10 feet deep. It's not going to freeze all the way down. Oh, enough to ice skate on the top of it?
Yeah.
Probably.
Built in. Just go go do it over there.
David said, what are the benefits, disadvantages to a Hartley solarium attached to the house opposed to a freestanding structure? Well, if it's attached to the house, then you can get to it real easy. I don't know. What are the benefits?
You can go out in your slippers.
Yeah. Well, I go out in my slippers anyway.
You might be able to share the heating. If it's attached to your house, you might be able to just, put a vent that, heats the thing.
Cut costs down right there in the setup.
Yeah. Aside from that, I think it's just preference of, having it close. And if you want the look, a Hartley, attached to your home is going to be beautiful no matter what. Not all greenhouses, like the plastic one behind me, it's not like a beautiful structure, but it's
one of my favorite.
It's really useful.
I love being in there. I love being in so many of our little spots now. It's so fun. I did see a question, and I don't know if you put it in here, Erin, but somebody has said, do you deal with condensation inside the glass? Because in my greenhouse, I'm dealing with that so much. I hadn't even thought of it because we've not dealt with it. And I don't know if it's the construction of the Hartley or what have you. I don't know what the deal is, but it's just clear, crystal clear all the time. No condensation, none of that business. It's so awesome. Yeah. When you realize things like that and I'm not having to deal with that, then you start feeling okay, yeah, I'm glad we put that one in.
Sure.
Carol said, why does anybody make a pot without drainage holes? I know. And why don't companies make saucers to go with every single pot, even concrete ones? Because people are not just sitting them out on the gravel all the time. People are putting them on driveways, on decks, all over the place. And we need saucers. We need saucers that match so we don't have to use ugly plastic ones. Specifically on smaller ones.
They should have at least rubber inserts to where you could, if you wanted to seal it off for those purposes, you could, keep that rubber plug there and then pop that out.
Yeah, but you want it to drain. You still want a pot with drain holes.
Not if you're doing a fairy garden.
Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you want it to drain?
Not if you're needing to use it for cut flowers.
Well, if it's a vase, then it's not a pot.
Just saying.
Either way, all pots. You're just trying to stir the
Be
pot.
obstinate.
Yeah, all pots should have drainage holes unless it's supposed to be a vase.
Okay, well there you go though.
And then they should offer two versions.
Or just a little rubber plug.
Yes, and saucers. Saucers need to be a thing. Please. There's actually my parents' terracotta supplier. They carry white and gray terracotta clay pots too. So I just bought I think a bottom out of gray saucers because it sort of matches the gray concrete that I have. And then I asked my mom, when you order new stuff, because she's ordering in the next week or so, please order me just 10 of each size. So I've got some on hand to fit the pots that we're using because we use them in different areas all the time. We move pots around. It's just nice to have a saucer, especially if I'm putting it up in the sun porch or in the Hartley. I want saucers under stuff in the Hartley. I don't want it just draining out onto the floor willy-nilly. And the last question for this week is from Kaylee. Did you darken your hair, Laura? Yes, I did. Well, what happened is, my hair is so weird, and I had 4 different colors going on. I had my root color, which is what we're going with right now, and then I had copper penny, and then it was kind of a brown, and then it was a yellow blonde. It was getting pretty rough. My hair, though, is so hard. It'll look like a copper penny in 2 weeks' time, I betcha.
You think?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's faster in the summertime, but we decided let's just take it down to your root color so that it's at least all 1 color instead of 4, and then go from there.
Yeah.
It's always a little shocking in the first couple of days. I'm oh.
I like it a lot.
It's too much.
I like it dark.
But it'll lighten up pretty quickly. So anyway, yep, it is darker. It's kind of fun to have something a little bit different too. It was kind of that blondish copper for a real long time. And it will be copper again because that's what happens with my hair. But not my eyebrows. It's weird. This is my color. That's the color that the roots come out, but it all just turns copper penny.
Do you have any gray?
Very few.
Really?
Yeah. I did notice, like, it was right after Benjamin. I had one, like, right here. And it, like, wants to spring up like that. And then I did notice, like, a tiny little bit right in here. But not bad. So, lucky, I guess, for now. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Espoma Organic, for sponsoring today's video. I hope you all have a really great week and a great day. We'll see you in the next one.